Hello. Uh, so I had like a serious talk um that I want to talk about, and it's actually rather rather and genuine uh with with what's going on. I would just say for all you females, you girls, ladies, uh, and so forth. Um, I would ask you to protect yourself. Uh, your definite courses of I don't know. More so just because like I'm looking at a little bit of airborne nature here, a little bit of optimization here, a little of getting rid of unneeded biases and unneeded attention here. Um, I think what's prolonged is I think when I think of girls and protecting themselves, I think there are so many ways you could do that now. I mean, today so many things are so interactive, so community driven, and so detailed oriented because some people like know how far human civilization has come, but more so like what the culture and the waves have become. So it's like you do have like social media, like just making sure abstractly you can provide a space that actually really talks to somebody. And I don't know, some people consider it flaunt. One of my closest friends consider all profit, just to show some body and some skin, and you gotta make some money here and there, um, as a sizable amount of reasons. But then there are another plethora of reasons why I think it's so viable. It's because like you can kind of like super super summarize exactly how you feel, and then other times it's just like we're just kicking it. You do something super random, something super stylized. Maybe it's based off a word, verbiage, phrase, something that happens in the wave of things. Like what I mean is there's a consistent case of like, man, you should really protect yourself. Be more aware that like having pepper spray is important. You know what I mean? Or having that issue of like you're not. The more open the world gets because of the fact that like people are, you start to realize how much people care for you. You're not at the standpoint where people are gonna stop being assholes and things of that nature. I think that's why females need men in their lives is because of that. Maybe it is because of protection factor. Maybe it is because of um, you know having no dissonance or wanting to be somewhere appropriately achievable. Um, I think there is a certain thing about having a woman protect themselves. People do women. I think people do it through considering themselves more aptly than others, and that takes a lot of um, wisdom and things of that nature. You sometimes you don't want to think about anything else besides the person that you're considered to be in a group or a relationship partnership with. I think you should always protect yourself in a manner that makes sense, that makes real sense. Like, and you should always triple fact everything. You shouldn't just sometimes I do. I even did things out of whim, based off the fact that when people think about consider about love, I think that's one of the first things people consider when it comes to men and women, besides the whole, you know, you're bullshit, I'm bullshit, kind of thing. Like once you get past that, and that's what I mean is like once you there's so much of that, it's like, oh no, you're not right, you're not real, you're not right, you're not real. Uh, I mean, I even think like what I want to understand is like how far does it get when you know nothing about me and yet you know everything about me. And so like if you could consider like a landmark or a checkpoint as to how to approach a certain situation, I think that's when attraction could happen. But I would say, you know, selfishly speaking, I guess too, but like there are times when it's like, man, that dude may not really not be for you, like at all. Like really. Like you just gotta really stay away from the loving nature of a person and loving existence of God is like give them a chance, give them room to give them da 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 da. But it's like realize like sometimes it's what you put yourself in and exactly what agrees with you and what doesn't disagree with you, and then having that mentality that there are certain parts of what a normal life does look like within your own bounds, and then once you step out into another bound, you have a you're gonna have like a that's that ish that you don't want, and that boundary should always be realized. For a lot of portion of the time, it's like if it doesn't ride with you, you shouldn't really ever exist in it, I guess. But like I think there's always a big part of me that thinks like for when it comes to a girl, it's like yeah, I mean I want a guy that like this is what I know of from personal experience, like growing up with two sisters and a very wise mother, and what my dad has appreciated after realizing so many different things of how women works. Like, and it starts obviously for me, it starts with family, but like I've considered outside of family so much that it's like, what does it look like with both? What does it look like with separate? And I do consider like when it comes to a woman, I consider like uh there's a case, obviously it's case by case, but there's always a chance that like you know it is maybe just a talk that sometimes could simplify something, a cause of concern, or could simplify, a warrant in your head that goes into like relaxation, comfortability. I'm good. I'm saying this. Or, when you have some people that could constantly speak into exactly how you agree upon for a very long portion of time, like that could cause, yeah, it could cause attraction too. Or if you find somebody that is really skilled in something, all of a sudden you feel like these feels like, it's like wow, 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 wow. And it's like, it could be sports. It could be somebody that knows a whole bunch of facts and then pieces them all together, or has a right sizable amount of calming demeanor with intellect, that goes beyond satisfactory level. Like those kind of things, like I would say, being first, that's why I always love to say, like being independent of yourself when it comes to girls, like that's why I always separate these as like you got girls that have their girlfriends, you got girls that stay completely like individualized, separate. You got girls that love to be socialized, but don't really know how to express it, don't really know how to genuinely get themselves involved. And like even all those three spectrums, it's like you know even when you do collide, it's more so. I wish girls are more friends with more girls. Like that's the one thing that I was wanting. Like y'all should be more friends, but at the same time, y'all should still be like individual based. And so the craziest part is when I think of like going beyond limitations. When it comes to guys, because of competition, or girls. Certain girls like to like look at other each and every other friend. Like what I mean. It's like there are certain guys that's always gonna be like among themselves because they know what's up. That's a big part. Is like sometimes you don't know what's up, then you don't know what's really going on. And if you don't know what's really going on, then you're caught in a minority stance of like, I'm trying to make my way. I want to prove myself. I want to da 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 da. And when you get dissy like that, like that's when things become like, all right, now you're starting to say things you don't mean. You're starting to produce mentalities. You're starting to try to agree with somebody that could, rob you, could take you off to another standpoint, could make you feel like, this is easier than it should be. Because rather than not, I'll tell you what, like before all the stocks changed and crypto, even though that's a part of the game, but like my own realizations before all of the business emulations and things, there's a reason why work is so work. It's because if you don't find something that you could key on in, and it becomes variably identifiable, and that you start having this limitless approach where you can see all the coordinations and all the different possibilities, you're gonna know men ran amok. Men men did so much like indecisive things when it came to women because of the fact that you achieve so much success. Look at TikTok right now. There's a lot of you got celebrities, athletes mixed in with like bodybuilders and people, philosophers and thinkers, and people are trying to mismanage and manage and all those things. All those things. So it's like I just say be even safer because it's safe right now and it's super safe, but it's coming to a point where there's gonna be different bonding structures that are gonna come about where it's like, okay, now you gotta be even safer than you were before because um, these new variables are kind of like time breaking and stuff like that. And I'm realizing myself is like I'm hearing certain things that yeah, it could be equitable for my personal experience, but it could be equitable for my girl experience or female experience. But yeah, it could be equitable for just me living a overall perception of who I am. So it's like what I could do in the stance of like how are you gonna break the mold or how are you gonna be more attractive or how are you gonna be more identifiable with you know, with what you want. That's the difficult part too, is like when it comes to women, knowing what you want is actually kind of important, but I wouldn't say that's definite too either. So that's why I'm like, about that too, is because what you may want one year, you may want something else, 3 years, 4 years from now. And so it's like, what can you see to yourself that makes sense? Like for me, I can't even actually talk about a foundational experience because my girl life has been here and here, here and here, here and here without a long relationship. Without a long relationship, I consider it church. And when I consider it church, I consider, man, like there are definite ways of me having fun without, let's say, what is the end of a relationship? Marriage, sex, happy, long joys for life, improving with one another, iron sharpening iron, just getting through life, um, being involved with the people you're involved with, or helping each other out with the skills that you have. People like, want to become super, super relationship powered people, you know what I mean? Like that stuff is cool and stuff, but I think it's really what makes sense to you that generally exists, and you generally know that. I think I'm kind of going down that faith route. Is like you generally know exists, but like you want it to happen in a way that is achievable based off that you got it in the right way. I don't want to say that you shouldn't ever think about dreaming because that's the biggest part of me. I'm a huge dreamer, and so the bigger and bigger I get, the smaller and smaller I get, and so if I could ever think of something that makes more sense to you, is like I'm a kid going back to like the comic books and stuff like that. And I'm going back to like what I know to be true. But how can I trust something is probably the worst thing that I could say, but it's something that I go, hey, look, like I have to break this down too. And that's why I have no issues when girls have to break things down too. So once you start having to break things down, you're like starting to think like, if you're not thinking maniacally and you're not thinking paradoxically, and you're not thinking hypocritically, then I think then you're going in the right space. But if you're not thinking about it where like, I don't have a set example, but if I were to be like, hey, like I'm Chris Kim, I want to get to know you more. There's a reason why I want to get to know you more. Let me speak into your existence. Why should I speak into your existence? Is it better than how? Maybe it's per se both, but I would want to speak as to why, because when I speak to why, I can say, hey, look, like I've been through so much. I can tell you that there are certain paths that aren't going to be good for you. And I can tell you that there are certain coexistence that are not going to be good for you. But I know that I've been through so much personal joy. I may know how to speak to you with that relevancy. I may know how to live with you with that relevancy. It's just sometimes, that landscape is already out there for me. Like for me personally, I wouldn't say, hey, look, protect yourself. I would say go out there and journey, experience so much things. But I've been, for me, I've been seeing these stories of like unnecessary BS that's coming out. And I've been hearing these things, unnecessary BS that's been coming out that really doesn't make any sense to me. But if you really want to be like in sincerity and deep involvement, for me, I would say I got to get my word out. Some girls, they speak about it and it just goes out and dissolves. You know what I mean? Like it dissolves. That's actually a really good portion to me that I feel like should be recognized no matter what. Like I know there are certain girl groups that like I had so much joy that was out the roof. But the reason why is because they have a continuance that makes sense, but they also have a love entity that's involved, and they also have a prodigal choice based. Hey, look, like you know what I mean. Like this is my life, and this is how I live it. Like they have their own personalities. That's a little bit basic, but at the end of the day, all I'm saying is when you have your consistencies with which what you want out of something and what you want to do out of something, like there's gonna be how that works. Another way, really good way is a girl to protect herself is by going outside her own box, because I found that girls more so than guys, um, forget that. We're in such a good space now. This in 20, what is it, 2021? Like girls, I found that if you work out to a certain space where they could push their limits, man, they can that same calming factor that they're looking for in guys, they can find in themselves. You know what I mean? So it's like you're not actually like what you want sometimes. That's what I mean. What you want sometimes may not be exactly what you want. And some girls depend on guys for that. Some girls depend on that. And that's why I can't pressure you into saying like, man, F them. You don't want to, you don't want them. No, it's because they need that care and comfort. But I'm saying you gotta say what is true. You gotta say what is kindness. You gotta say what is reality. You know what I mean? So like you can always be in a comfort zone and say everything is all good all the time, which I've been a part of for a very long time. Or you know what I mean? Like you can have you can have your dissonance of saying like, man, this I don't feel pressured about it, but I don't feel like what we're talking about is that necessary? You know what I mean? But that's me off of nothing really. That's me off of losing my train of thought. But what I do want to say is like, girls, you should protect yourself. You shouldn't let loose such an easy way. Get your security system up. Get your wants and needs, and don't let a guy. You know, I really do like the case when it's like guys don't chase a girl. A girl will know when that guy will be involved in this rare case. But like, that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like that really makes sense. Is like you got to have that proportion about you, because sometimes I feel like it's that way. Other ways, heck, it's so out there, and it's like, what, it's just life, 50-50% man win. But like at the same time, this is probably one of the best things I love talking about. Like I love talking about this stuff because my idea is the woman and man ratio has kind of like done this, whereas opposed to man used to have this, woman used to have this. I feel like it's like closing in, and so it's the point where it's like, look at the most basic thing. It's like a man and a woman has to work now. You know what I mean? That's the most basic thing in today's day and age. Whereas before you had a man be the breadwinner, you know what I mean? Have all the money. Now it's both. Or now it could be, vice versa. Maybe it's the girl getting all the money and God not doing much. Yeah, but you wouldn't like that either. So the basic is the basic. But all I'm saying is, what is appreciable? What is something that you can find commonly good and what is really good? You know what I mean? And like that good matters. That good matters to a certain point where you you can't say somebody has it all. Like, you're gonna find a want from this. And so that's why that's not even that big of a deal. That's why I say go get groups of friends. That's why I say watch these talk shows and stuff like that, because you're gonna understand like, you know, what is real in the form of talk. Because I think what is attractive is, from a girl's standpoint, is like I think girls do think nah, but this is I think girls do think that guys that are more productive, that have, certain resumes. Even then, I still think if you know the guy, that's still a little bit basic. If you know the guy. So if you would consider this, we still think money is basic, which women do need security, women do need protection, and women do need a source of income. But that fourth one, I still think is a little bit basic based off the fact that would a woman really improve her life if she had a man making like five figures compared to eight figures or nine figures or 10 figures? How much is 10? Nine figures. So there's a disproportion there. The reason why I bring that up is because there's still women in all courses of all those people. And, it's how you develop a relationship with those different kinds of people. And when you develop that kind of relationship with those kind of people, you're going to start to think like, what could I do to get closer to that person? How can I approach that person? Don't you ever think that the person with the lesser was like, I don't really, from a lot of cases, well, I mean, for certain cases, I don't really need all that BS. So eventually you're thinking like that. You don't need to really think about that person. Yeah, don't think about that person. But you still watch it and you still go through it. And so that's what I'm saying. It's like, what happens when you do start caring about that seven, eight figure, nine figure lifestyle? But it's like, who? But I still got this. Yeah, maybe it's just a reality come down. Maybe it's just a reality come down. But then it's like I'm asking you like what is common against and what is common for and what is common in that case. Because then it's like, okay, now you have so much variables at your feet, but you can't experience it? Maybe. You have so much variables at your feet in front of you. Can you do what they can do if you didn't have all that material lifestyle and if you didn't do all that? Because this is where faith comes involved. This is where other things come involved. Because man, I do know guys and I do know friends and I do know, and it's like I know who could be mature for you and stuff like that. But that's not even what I'm talking about. Let's wave that off. It's like, what's at the what's here? Like what's here? You gotta protect yourself. You gotta protect yourself. You gotta be strong. And what's hard is like when a girl is willing and once she's married because she may not have known the guy because she she thought about the money, she thought about the perfect lifestyle, but finds inside, deep down inside, this guy is such a minuscule person, such a small person, such an undeveloped person. He's got his own little wrongs and rights. And that actually occurs a lot, and that's going to carry over to this woman charging a lead that she never even represented in the first place. If you charge that lead, you're affecting people with lower incomes. You're affecting things of people that you may never know. And so once these people start thinking about like attraction and things of that nature, what the hell are you trying to attract at this point? Are you trying to attract fame, money? Like, and so that's my point. It's like if you do care about that stuff, albeit you might even care about a small bit, understand that you should protect yourself. You should protect what you're going through, what's proportion to your life. Because once you have, let me go back to that example, is like once you had this dude who's kind of empty and actually turns out to be really, I'll tell you what, let me pause right there. The guys that are super, super empty are going to be way more empty with money, more money. They're going to get more empty. And I don't know how that works with somebody that thinks like, for me, example, like, oh, Chris, you never even had $10 billion. Like, what you mean? All I'm saying is I've seen what money could do for a person once they get to that lifestyle and gives up. And I've seen what a person does with that lifestyle and continues his weight. I'm not there every day, but that lifestyle is going to protrude. It's going to show some certain variables that you want out of attraction. You get what I'm saying? So it's like there's going to be this third party boundary, this third party renaissance, this third party wave is what I'm talking about in this technological age. It's this wave that like, oh man, this person might exist more because like, just based off the fact that like is there. Now, this may sound like I'm sounding like a little bit nitpicky because I'm slowing down and stuff like that. All I'm saying is protect yourself, woman. Protect yourself, girls. Um, I'm talking in the most journalistic sense. I'm talking into the most. This is off the top of my mind too. Like I can't see these articles and stuff like that. I can't say and just not say anything. I can't see this stuff and go, what the freak? Like, what is going on in my head where you got you got a complete douchebag being able to talk to this person, and this person is trying to, and this girl is trying to like really understand like the mindset, the perspective of this person, and sometimes the best way, the summarization I say is you got to work it out. As my summarization. That's possibly what God's trying to tell us too. But my summarization there shouldn't have stopped there. It should be, bro, like there are certain things you gotta do to first enhance yourself, and then the people around you are gonna understand what that means. And then they're gonna see a light of change. They're gonna see a difference in you. And then you're gonna become, more supportable and things of that nature. Like I've experienced both of the bad and the good. Like I kind of understand where my good foundation lies. That's why I'm like, dang it, man, like I can't even get jealous about anybody, but it's like, dang it, man, if someone's gonna wrong me because I realized something and then they do it and they produce a result that's close to mine, and then I'm like, all right, I get it, but then it's like you go on to a certain point where it's like, like this person is so much greater than you because they did what you wanted to do, and they what you did was not applicable in the situation because your mind was on something else. Like those kind of things, like maybe that's me just shifting around because in all honesty, that's my depressive state. But all I'm saying is there's a part of me where it's like if a girl could protect herself to a certain point where she understands what's up, she can understand that she's monetarily maturated. So I don't know if that's actually physically like, having real cash on you or understanding if I gave you like $20, you know what I mean? Like that $20 could go way further than somebody who had 2,000 or 20,000 bucks. If you had maybe for that girl, she, was highly intellectual in her own cases so that she can, regard herself and how she works and performs, like we all don't have time to be together all the time too. Um, that's the reality of it. Like if she can handle that part too, then that's cool. But then yeah, the coexistence becomes if we can help each other in the mind space, the headspace of the wave in there, then that works too. Um, and then I'm going off a checkpoint that kind of like doesn't make sense because I think there are a lot of doubts that we all have, but to be able to talk about it is much harder than to be able to is it's kind of more difficult to talk about on the spot because that's where friends and stuff happen. It's like, do we even need to worry about that stuff? Nah, but you know what I mean. But it's like we're gonna always just come back to a certain standard of like, dang, life is tough, life is really good. You know what I mean? So that's where I'm like, dang, protect yourself in ways that matter. So I just spewed out a lot of stuff, but it's like yourself in ways that aren't gonna be something so common too at the same time. Like, yeah, I'm a common person. I'm a common person, I think. But I think I have very specialized and really cool point of views that I think help in my actions. Because on my actions, I know beyond what my life is, my body is just it's it's like my body. Done a lot of amazing things with my body, but my body is you know what I mean compared to God. It's like it's a thing. Like it's one of those. What is it like on TikTok? Like you know what I mean? Like on Grammy Gram. Like you know what I mean? It's one of those things. Like you just. So that's what I'm saying is like a body is a body. A mental is a mental. A spiritual is beyond anything. But when you put them all together, you're gonna have something that makes sense. You're gonna have something that makes sense in a way that it should be for an individual. It should be an individual and individual, and then the spirit involved. Like I'm going back to God, but you should think about that in a highly you should just think about it, and you should be living good and stuff like that without having too much detrimental choices. Don't follow choices that you think are riskable factors that somebody else did, and so you want to try to do it so that you could experience life in a life or death fashion. Don't do that. Don't do that. You should live how you know accordingly. Um, be at peace with yourself. Uh, ask a lot of questions. Ask a lot of questions. Have your resort and have your own appreciability and have your own foundation of identity and have your own, you know, um, have your own confidence. Have your own thing. You know what I mean? Have your own little itty bitty and do what you need to do to make yourself, less stressed. And from there on, it's like, man, you gotta have to have a want sometimes outside of man and woman relationship. You know what I mean? Like there are other things out there that could be consistent with love, but it's not actual with relationships. Like a girl could be really good at chess, or a girl could be really good at inference reading, or a girl could be really good at understanding the variabilities of certain frequencies, or like a girl could be very good at um, you know understanding that like certain criticism works better than others. You know what I mean? Or like having to do with most of what a pressure situation is. That confidence is actually pretty key, but I don't know. I've my life is a little bit crazy too, so I'm ended it there. But I'm probably gonna speak about this in a more structured way. But I'm gonna revisit this. I'm gonna look back at it. I'm gonna get some ideas. I'm gonna talk to you again. Peace.